Hi, my name is William Day from Sierra Vista, and I watched the movie Forks Over Knives on Netflix. Now, the point of this movie is that when you eat mammalian flesh, that causes artery disease. Now, they don't say why that is, what the causal relationship is. So it's not really specific enough, just to say it causes arterial disease. We need a theory. This is like saying that if you stand next to Johnny, you're going to get hurt. Well, that's not sufficient. A more complete statement would be, if you stand next to Johnny, he's going to hit you with a hammer on the head. Now, based with that new information, you could, 1, take the hammer away from Johnny, or 2, wear a helmet. So this more specific information is what we need to know. So here's a theory on why this Forks Over Knives movie, the supposition is mammalian flesh is not good to eat because it hurts your arteries. Okay, here's the theory. First is some background information. The digestive process is not perfect. Now, the idea of the digestive process is that you take the raw flesh, you digest it into its fundamental particles, like vitamins, minerals, glucose, amino acids, things like that. And your body can use these particles to build up your own body and use it for energy. Well, the digestive process is not perfect. Some proteins escape digestion. And 2, the human gut is leaky. That means to say that some of these undigested proteins get into the bloodstream and into the body undigested, still as the original proteins, still as the original mammalian proteins. So that the leaky gut, the human gut is leaky. And then 3rd, the immune response system does not like these proteins floating around the bloodstream. So it sends out antibodies to destroy these mammalian proteins. It makes up specific antibodies for these proteins, and the problem is that the endothelial lining of the arteries is very similar to mammalian proteins. So those antibodies attack both the proteins that are floating around in there from your digestive system and the endothelial layers of your arteries. So that causes the problem. But when you eat plant foods, the plant proteins are sufficiently different that the antibodies sent out to destroy those proteins are not close enough to the proteins in your arteries to cause artery damage. So that's why eating plant food is so much better for you, because the antibodies that the immune system makes up attacks the plant proteins but doesn't attack the arteries because they're so dissimilar. Therefore, this artery disease is actually an autoimmune response to mammalian flesh. So, in general, you would say that you want to eat foods that are genetically most distant from you, as plant foods are, to have the antibodies different. So the immune system goes out there to attack these proteins, but they're plant proteins, they're not animal proteins, so they don't attack the arteries. Okay, so that's why it's a good idea to eat plant proteins, or something that's distant from you, genetically speaking. So here you'd be advised not to eat any monkeys, gorillas, orangutans, mice, cows, or cow's milk. But what about chicken or fish? These are fairly distant relative to us, genetically speaking. Maybe it's safe to eat those because the antibodies will be different. Those proteins are going to get into our bloodstream also, but maybe the antibodies are sufficiently different that I don't have to worry about those. So this might be the basis of that theory that says, don't eat red meat, just eat chicken and fish, because those are so different from you. So we're going to have to wait for some studies to find out whether eating chicken or fish is safer for you than mammalian flesh. Moreover, one would be advised to thoroughly chew one's food to help the digestive process to be as mechanically complete as possible. I know some people take a bite of burger and swallow it whole. They don't even chew it. I've been accused of chewing my food too much, and people will leave the dinner table. I'm still chewing away there, but they just take a bite of, swallow it whole. Now you can imagine how difficult it is for for the digestive system to put enzymes and acids around a large lump of flesh like that and get it to work. Some of that protein is going to get into your bloodstream undigested. So if you don't like this theory, by the way, don't blame it on the movie Forks Over Knives, because this is just my theory. I made this all up by myself. Now, an interesting side note on this theory is that what is the safest mammalian flesh that can be consumed under this theory? And the answer is your genetic identical twin. When you eat your genetically identical twin, his flesh gets into your body, his proteins get into your bloodstream, but the immune system says, now wait a minute, that's self, that's not different, that's not non-self, that's self, so we're not going to attack that, and then his proteins can float around there and without any problem. You won't have arterial problems with that. So your genetic twin may not be too keen on the fact that you're chewing on his foot, but that's his problem. So in general, eat foods that are distant genetically as possible, and if your genetic twin looks at you with hungry eyes, run. Thank you.